You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Christopher Earley, catastrophic personal injury lawyer in Boston, Massachusetts, right down the street from me, actually. I'm about 45 miles in the center of the state. Chris is a Mass Lawyers Weekly columnist, entrepreneur, and a business coach for lawyers. It's a pleasure to have you in. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much, Ben. It means a lot. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, for sure. So you're in Boston. I think you're a Red Sox fan. How about the Celtics?
Big Celtics fan.
Okay, so we got a win last night. I was happy about that. I'm a big Celtics fan, so that's great.
Back in the winning column again.
Back in the winning column. That's always a good thing. Starting this morning off on a positive foot. And we have Chris on the podcast. So you basically have an amazing story. So if anybody is looking to starting a law firm, like right out of law school, Chris did that 18 years in, never looked back. So congrats on all your success thus far with personal injury.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about your childhood, like born and raised, before we really get into like what your firm's doing.
Yeah, a lot of what my firm is doing is sort of influenced by my upbringing. So I grew up with my mother, just me and her. My father, he was a very successful entrepreneur in Manhattan. It's called a headhunter or an executive search consultant. He would recruit kids out of college, place them in jobs, and the company in which he placed these graduates into would pay him. So it was a commission-based income model, and he was doing very well. He was at Penn Plaza, right across the street from Madison Square Garden, in a nice skyscraper building, but he was developing a very bad alcohol addiction. And in the 1970s, I was born in 1976, but he was already full-blown, alcoholic, but he was running a very, high-level business.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what alcohol brought him down, and he was actually rendered homeless. So he went from, skyscrapers, literally a skyscraper office, to the sidewalk. And so then he was out of the house at that point. My mother and I, it was just us, we're a real team. And she gave me every opportunity to succeed. But I saw my father on the streets. And so I have a certain, I have a certain experience, a certain sensitivity to homelessness, a certain sensitivity to addiction because of that. So Benny, I tell you that because that informs who I am today and the business I run. Informs the people I hire, the clients represent. So that story is your podcast is Lawyer Stories, right? We all have a different story. That's my kind of unique story, good, better, and different. And so that imprinted upon me a lot of negative things as a child, a lot of positive things in terms of where I didn't want to go with my life.
Right.
With my mom's help and just always building me up, my confidence, and helping me to succeed. Worked hard in high school, college, law school, and then didn't know any better. Just hung a shingle out after law school. And that brings us to today, but a lot of good fortune. And it has been all, adversive. Had a lot of luck on my side with, the right, my mom raising me and supporting me. And I'm not here without her.
So I actually want to go back into that a little bit and just ask, like, at what point, like in your childhood, did you realize, like, I'm going to have to step it up and like you sort of said you were like a partner with your mom a little bit. So like, when did you, like, how old do you remember, like, when you realized that?
Yeah, I mean, so there was dysfunction everywhere. It was just very kind of chaotic. When a parent leaves the house, there's the parent abandons the house essentially, and then the 7-year-old brain doesn't really understand. It's trying to understand what's normal. So I was a real punk, Benny. I was a troublemaker. I was getting into trouble, class clown. I was really headed for failure, 100%. And so when I hit high school, my mom enrolled me in an all-boys private high school. That's when I got scared that I was going to not do well. So I started working my ass off. So when I hit high school is when things sort of changed for me, and I kind of got on a more successful path, right?
Yep.
And then I just, I'm a real worker. I'm a worker bee. I like to put my head down and just get stuff done and be productive. So starting in high school, to answer your question, starting in high school is when things got on the right track. But it
Wow.
could have been, it could have gone either way, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And I mean, something really inside of you has to want to do that too. Like you have to have like, I mean, I know it's your parent, your mother, but you really have to want to do that too. So obviously she was a great influence. So that's awesome. Did you have a moment when you knew you wanted to become a lawyer?
So to be totally honest with you, I graduated college. I really wasn't sure. I knew I didn't mind studying and working hard in school.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, hey, go to law school. I'm up for the challenge. Gives me some time to figure out what I'm going to do. It'll open doors. And I was so freaked out about failing out that I just worked my butt off, right? In law school. And I didn't do any clerkships. I didn't really network at all. So when I graduated law school, I didn't have anything to fall back on.
Right.
I couldn't get a job.
Yeah.
So for about a year, I was in sort of a quasi a partnership with an older lawyer in Boston, but that kind of fizzled. So then I hung a shingle about a year later. We're talking 2005,
Yep.
and decided with personal injury. I didn't have to work crazy hours. And fast forward to today, I have, because of my upbringing, a certain, as I said, sensitivity to struggle, to adversity, to challenge. So I never wanted to, nor could I work for a corporation where I'm just making corporation money, right? And
Right.
pushing people. I like to actually help ordinary people who have been
That's
involved in
awesome.
an accident, because it just feels authentic and who I should help because it feels right.
Yeah, and I always feel like, it's a special thing to have like a story that you are able to connect, like looking back, you're able to connect and see why you're doing it. So yours is truly one of those. And you passed the bar on your first attempt
Thank
in
God.
Massachusetts, and you said your law school experience was like a little challenging. I just kind of wanted to ask about that a little bit. I often say like my big thing was I just did not like the Socratic method. I would just sit there and like, you know, uh, not want to get called on, I guess, to say the least.
I was totally freaked out.
Yeah.
I was totally freaked out. But think about it, like there's so much, there's a lot of lawyers that mentally are unwell, right? And law school, I feel like doesn't help us by, stressing out, like you said, the Socratic method, right? I mean, that for me instilled fear. So that really freaked me out.
Yeah.
Um, but I just felt like I had to work harder. I had this edge that I didn't want to fail. My mom, she would, as a kid, she'd build me up and say, you're going to do something. You're capable of doing something. I believe that. And so that was an advantage in law school. There's a certain grit. I think my mom, somehow stamped on me because I saw her. My mother wasn't working when I was a kid. When my father left, she had to suddenly start to work, and she was in her mid 40s. She had been a housewife for years. So you see
Right.
your mother, make it happen, and not lose her shit, right? And
Yeah.
just able to maintain sanity in the house so that I can do okay. That's been an advantage in law school. It gave me the nerve to start a practice that anything, clients, experience, connections, nobody, nothing. And I owe it all, to her. And now today I have a very supportive wife who helps me, but I feel like, nobody gets to be, no one gets to a certain level in any part of life without help and support. We stand on other shoulders, right? Without my mom, without my wife, I'm not able to do what I do today, right? So I think it's important for anyone on the call to be, to thank whoever helped you on your journey, because I'm sure everyone on this call has had a lot of people help them.
Right.
So tell them you're thankful, because none of us got here alone. I know that very well.
That's right. Wow. So I know you were pretty young when you did this, but what advice would you give someone today who wants to launch their own law firm?
So what I did was a little bit unconventional. I mean, it's a little probably insane to do what I did, but again, I didn't know any better. And so I would encourage anyone to, it's okay to be scared. It would be odd if you weren't fearful, right, of starting a practice. But they say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So don't wait too long. If you're gonna pull the trigger and start your practice. I'm a big believer in, your list of people who know you, like you, and trust you. Your network, build that network out, your list out.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be really upfront. If I can do it, anybody can do it. But you have to have, some. It's not for everybody, Benny, right? Some
Yeah.
people are a little more conservative. They don't want to, they enjoy sleeping at night, not worrying. Totally get that.
Yeah.
Because it's hard as hell at first, right? And it's always hard. But if you have a stomach for risk and a little bit of insecurity for a while, and not much money coming in, then have at it.
How did you know what to do? Like, that's what I'd be like. We got some like depositions going on, and then we got some interrogatories to fill out, and
you have to figure it out. Like, there's good people, get mentors,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's not rocket science, right? There's a lot, coming out of law school, we were equipped with certain tools and ways of thinking that can help us, figure out how to do discovery, but it's real the soft skills. It's like how to relate to clients, how to talk to clients, how to read a room, right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, we have those sort of, skills from law school, but a lot of it when running a practice is the softer skills, social intelligence, emotional intelligence,
Right.
things like that. I think that's what gets you ahead in this life, not necessarily your grades in school or your ability
Yeah.
to synthesize.
100%. I love that. 100%. So how have you seen the practice of law evolve or change since you started your firm?
Well, I think it's changed quite a bit. Technology, right? I mean, I was blogging early. This is like 2005, 2006. Blogging wasn't even a thing, right? But back then
Yeah.
it was, it was very novel. But today it's obviously not. But I've seen automation come on really strong. A lot of these tools. You have CRMs now, customer relationship managers that are here now. You have Chat GPT. The possibilities are endless. The technology wasn't there 20 years ago. So hopefully that'll make anyone who's entertaining the idea or going through the process of starting a practice, you have so much technology on your side that I can say wasn't around a couple decades ago.
You think it's more competitive now?
Well, I do, because I think there's a lot of PI, massive national firms coming into, at least in Boston, that I see.
Okay.
And yeah, you need to be different. Again, what's your story? We're talking about, this is, I related my story earlier, but like, that's how I think you differentiate from the competition, your story, whatever that is. My story is mine, and I embrace that. And
I love that.
Well, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, you have to embrace your story. You have to own your story, is what I say, right?
Yeah, because otherwise you're just a commodity. You're like any other lawyer, like anyone, any lawyer can do certain things, but like, what makes you different? Why should the client pick you over the 50,000 other lawyers in Massachusetts or the 1.3 million in the United States? Like, why should you be the guy or gal that they hire? I think it's important to be authentic, be yourself. My stories on my website, I share. I have nothing to hide, right?
Right. So actually, going back to your story, you are writing a book.
Yeah.
About trauma and dysfunction growing up. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Benny. So I'm 46, and I'm sort of a little more enlightened than I was, say, at 36 or 26, and I can see just how nutty things were back in the day. From age from birth to like probably first 10 years of my life.
Yep.
Were just out of control, odd. So I look at that, and I kind of got through a bit of a gauntlet, but there was a lot of luck involved. There was support, good fortune. I didn't do this alone. So I'm writing a book about the journey to this point. And the book is basically like 2/3 my story and 1/3 about success practices I've discovered that have moved the needle for me personally, professionally. But my goal, I'm not looking to make it. I'm going to lose money in the book, and I don't really care, because I want to have a book for my kids to read about who dad is and what dad comes from. I want to speak to groups, maybe Al-Anon, or Alateen groups, kids growing up around alcoholism. I would love to speak and have an opportunity to impact someone's life. So if one person reads the book and they're moved in any small way, that's a successful outcome, because writing a book is hard as hell, like a legit, a real book.
That's awesome. I hope to get an autographed copy when it comes out.
You got it.
Let us know. We'll definitely, put it in our stories on Instagram. That's really cool. So tell us about like the importance of client service at the Early Law Group.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about. You know, I aim to build a law firm that delivers services like a Ritz-Carlton, a Four Seasons, and I mean that literally. Like I want, concierge, white glove, service, because that's what we're doing as attorneys. We're serving our clients, right?
Right.
I think a lot of attorneys get that backwards. They take clients for granted. They neglect them, they don't contact them, and do that at your own peril, because they will tell everyone they know how bad of a lawyer you are, how bad the experience was with your firm. So it's so hard, Benny, to get a client. We better, when they come into my firm, we better really roll out the red carpet, because I know how expensive it was, how much work there was with marketing, with intake, to acquire the client, to convert the lead into an actual client. And so that experience better be good. If it's not, we're doing something wrong. So I would encourage anyone on the call, really give the clients TLC, right? Really show them the love, and they'll give it right back to you. Send you cases. They'll give you good reviews.
Yep.
Only good things happen from that, for sure.
How big is the firm right now? Are you still growing?
Yeah, we have 11 team members. I just hired a 12th yesterday. So scaling and growing it. And I'm just totally blessed, Benny. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I shouldn't even be here. I am so lucky to be the position I am, and just truly grateful and humble that I get to do what I do. I'm surrounded by amazing team members. I have an amazing family who supports me. So I'm a blessed dude, and I know it. And so I try to count my blessings every day. Very lucky.
That's awesome. And you're obviously trying to instill that in your own boys right now.
Yeah, I've got 2 kids, and so Benny, when I was growing up, like I saw my dad pass out into a plate of pasta once. I saw, I saw my dad do, experience things that a child shouldn't see. So I try to go the polar opposite way with my kids. Dad comes home, dad is, coaching your sports teams. Like I go all in on being a dad.
Yep.
Because I'm so sensitive to what I had. So it, moves me to just be dialed in to being the best dad I can be. And that's in large part why I wrote the book. Like I said, I want my kids to have a book about dad, explaining all my frailties, my weaknesses, but also the things that I try to be really good at, which is being their dad. Yeah.
That's awesome. Would you want them to come into your practice one day?
If they want to. It's a hard racket, it, right? Everyone on the call knows this is a hard profession. This will grind you down, and yet, like the door's open. If you want to take over the practice, if you want to learn the practice of law, I will help you in any shape or form. But I know how hard it is. We talk about, there's a lot of mental illness. There's a lot of mental problems in the legal profession. So I would encourage them to keep their head straight. Personally, the way I do that is I meditate every single morning at 4:30 in the morning. I meditate, I journal, I run. I would encourage everyone, take care of your brain, take care of your emotions. This is such a hard profession. It'll grind you down. It'll erode you and break you. I've seen it happen to many people, and I try to fight against that. It's hard,
That's good advice, though. I like the meditation aspect of that, just giving yourself some deep breathing and being able to be present in the moment before the day gets crazy.
100%. Yeah. I used to have a major anger problem, like bad. I used to be a very aggressive person when I was younger, and even into my 20s. But a lot of that anger stems from abandonment, from not having a healthy, blueprint on what a male role model looks like. So I use meditation, Benny, to just quiet the noise, like you said, right? To take a pause, take a moment, helps me be a better spouse, father, a leader of my team, lawyer for my clients, all those things. So work on yourself first, I feel like, right? And then you can help others.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what would you say are the most important aspects of having your own law firm?
Well, there's great autonomy. There's great opportunity, because right now, like I said, I'm scaling this thing, and that's what I really just get juiced up on. I love the business of law. I'm not handling any cases. I'm fortunate to have a kick-ass rock star team that helps me do what I do, which is to, I do a lot of public speaking. I speak to bar organizations. I'm on podcasts, right? Like this, always getting out there. I actually, in an hour, I'm hosting a lunch in my hometown, just down the street at a restaurant with about 8 other lawyers. It's awesome. Called lunch with lawyers. I'm just getting some people, all lawyers, they don't know each other, but we're going to get together. One's even a judge, just to get together, chew the fat, and hopefully give each other some good ideas. So just always trying to get out there. So anyway, my role is just to build this thing, to hire good people and continue to build the systems and get out of the way so my team can do what they're so good at, which is, helping our clients and holding their hand in the process.
And how important are systems in having your law firm? Like what kind of systems do you have?
Everything that we do is on a system. If it's not, then there's a problem. I think everything should be automated, right?
Right.
How clients are welcomed into the office, how the phone is answered, how people are transferred to people on the phone, everything, right? How we talk to clients, how we handle clients who are very upset or or not in a great mood. There's a system for how, we run a system how to lower the temperature of the phone call with the client. So anyway, we do this on everything as far as I'm concerned. I mean, look at well-run corporations like McDonald's, Apple. They don't just like fly by the seat of their pants. I mean, everything is process driven. I think a law firm, we talk about law firms today. I think they need to be lean, efficient, and not be weighed down by inefficiencies. So systems, I think, are totally critical. I'm obsessed with systems. I think you need to be to scale and grow.
Totally. So important to have systems in place. So I've noticed on LinkedIn, you do a lot of posts and you're pretty active and engaged. Tell us about, everybody who's listening to this should go check out Chris on LinkedIn. Tell us about some of your posts, like the themes of your posts and like your sort of what motivates you with those.
Sure. Appreciate that. So I'll be upfront and tell you my goal 2023 is to post at least once a day. And I'm not going to post about what to do after a car accident or what to do after a slip and fall. People don't care about that. I post content about things that I'm doing in the practice. I put a post a couple weeks ago, and for me it was somewhat viral in a way that, for me it was, at least. It was about not negotiating your fees, not taking a discount on your legal fees, right? And if anything, I encourage, in that post, raise your fees, and that got a lot of traction. I'm constantly posting, right? And I see, Benny, the more I post and I engage, the engagement is really popping. But you spend a lot of time. You could even pre-schedule posts. You could have Sunday morning or Tuesday night, whatever you want to do. Think of 7 posts for the week and schedule them out. But I think LinkedIn is a big blue ocean. I think it's.
Do you? Okay. All right. Yeah, we're trying to build more. We have the Instagram, we have the Facebook, and like I've been making a concerted effort to post on. I have a personal LinkedIn, but I also have a Lawyer Stories business page LinkedIn. So I've been making concerted effort to post. If I see the person has LinkedIn that I'm featuring or that I have on the podcast, like I will post their content on the business page. So when you say engage, you mean like responding to a comment or doing a hashtag? How does it work for you? Give us some tips.
Well, I think you're getting traction when people repost your stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's like the ultimate validation of a post. Like, okay, this is people feel this is good. They're sharing it on their own network. So that's I think the holy grail of social media is when people are sharing your stuff, then it's exponentially spreading, right, to so many different people that otherwise wouldn't reach, right? And so that's where you're leveraging other people's people, right? Their networks. So I'm real diligent because, like I said, I'm not handling cases now, so I can dedicate the time, and you have to be intentional about this. It doesn't just happen where pumping out a ton of content. Like you said, I write for Mass Lawyers Weekly. I write for the ABA. I speak a lot. Like I said, I write newsletters for attorneys, newsletters for clients.
That's awesome.
And so, well, thank you. So you have to do it with intention. So with LinkedIn, I've only been leveraging LinkedIn probably maybe a year and a half to 2 years.
Yep.
But I just see, again, big opportunity. You stay top of mind with your referral sources, even clients. You can connect with clients on LinkedIn, right? That's a system that we have. That I have a system in the office for making sure, looking at the clients, seeing if they're on LinkedIn, connecting with them.
Okay.
It's another way to stay in touch.
That's good. So social media has really played a role. I think these days that's probably another way that I know I asked you earlier how the profession's changed. It's probably another way because I have seen you on TikTok too, I think. Your firm, you got somebody running the TikToks in your office, I believe. Yeah.
I don't care. I do silly stuff.
Awesome. I don't think it's silly. I wasn't implying at all that it was.
No, I appreciate it.
It's awesome because I know a lot of attorneys out there are really leveraging these platforms to get engagement, to put themselves out there. So I actually think it's a really cool thing that you're sort of moving along with it. You've been in the business a while, but you're moving along with like what it takes. You're putting yourself out there, and I think it's super important.
Well, thank you. No, I appreciate that. And I think, you have to get past, you have to be a little bit, don't take yourself too seriously. Like one day I'm like skipping, my marketing assistant walks in. If she tells me we're gonna do this on TikTok, I just do it because I know she has a pulse on what
That's
is
awesome.
trending, I'm so like, okay, what am I doing? So she's like, you're gonna skip down the hall like a child, like skip down the hall. And I do it, and I know I look like a total moron. It's silly, but like again, we're just trying to be different. And like I'm not, I'm just so down to earth. Like I just so hungry to grow this firm, and
Yep.
I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And so I'm not very I don't have a lot of I don't get embarrassed too easily, right?
No, that's
Like, come
awesome.
on.
And any way lawyer stories could help you, like connect you with people or put you out there, like I'm glad to do it. Like that's what I want. That's what we're doing with this thing. We're connecting lawyers and some clients, but mostly lawyers and lawyers as a potential referral source. We have a whole platform we're growing on Mighty Networks called Lawyer Stories Connect. That's going to
Oh,
be launched this year at some point. I'll send you the link to that too. Maybe you
you're
could do
doing
some.
good work. You're doing really good
Thank
work,
you.
and it's growing because it's good work and people relate to stories, right?
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
Good for you. Keep doing this.
Think so. So why don't you just give us like a brief overview of like your firm? I mean, your firm, you said you have 11 people working for you. How many of those are attorneys? Where are you actually located?
Yeah, so we're in Boston, and I'm opening up a second location in Hingham, Massachusetts.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
It's awesome.
And so, not including me, we have three lawyers. I just hired the third lawyer that I just hired is now the managing attorney, so I can now be, CEO,
It's
just
awesome. Yeah.
detached from the day to day and just, growing it. And we have, I want to say 8 or 9 support staff, right? Be it, case managers, marketing assistant, right? Director of first impressions, who is my, our secretary, but I don't like that word. I like director of first impressions. With intake, we don't call it intake, we call it new client specialist. I'm trying to be different. And just I've really good team members. But again, I would encourage anyone on the call, be careful who you hire. I've hired some duds in the past. I've gotten burned, and I've lost a
Really.
lot of money hiring the wrong people.
What
So
position do you like mostly get get burned at? Like, what's the most thing to like sort of be careful about? Like, are you able?
um
Are you sort of a? Would you call yourself a mentor? Like, would you help a new attorney along, or are you?
100%.
Okay, yeah,
100%. That's what I like to do. I geek out on this stuff. I like this conversation. I'm enjoying this. I like talking about the business of law,
good,
networking, growing, but older. Like I'm 46, so I'm kind of mid career. I feel like I have an obligation to help younger lawyers, right? It's important that the profession move forward and gets
good,
stronger, right, and progresses. But we owe it to the younger generation. Teach them our mistakes so that they do better than we did and are
right.
doing.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. I think mentorship is so important. I say it's the profession is unlike medical school where you get to go around and do all these clinical things and like, they put you in a hospital day and night, for like whatever year it is. It's you have to kind of go fend for yourself if you're not top of the class. You got to go out and really hustle and know somebody and make it happen yourself. And I don't know if like all kids who are in law school know really how to do that. And then you get out of law school and it's like, okay, it'd be nice to have somebody to sort of take me along. But then there's also obviously other people who can, who are like Chris, who are just, let's hang a shingle, I'm going to do it. They have that sort of entrepreneurial spirit and confidence in themselves where they can do that.
Yeah, I think you just said a really important word, hustle. So we talked earlier about what it takes to build a practice. Like if you're not going to hustle, you shouldn't work for yourself. You shouldn't start a practice. It's all about hustle to me. Literally, like all day, hustling for opportunities, right? Always getting knocked down, always failing, but being too dumb to quit, I call it, right? And just getting up, but I think I have an advantage over other lawyers. And that's the adversity I had as a kid. So I look at that, okay, got over that, quasi war. Okay, so like what worse, how much worse could it get, right? It's how it toughens you up. So I'll encourage anyone, I would only encourage you to start a practice if you are a hustler, if you're willing to go after it, right? And be your own, be your own boss, because it's hard as hell. It's truly difficult work. I've been
Yeah.
doing it for a long time, and it's always going to be hard as hell. But it's who I am. It's like a right fit for me. It's doing what I should be doing. So whatever it is you should be doing, do your best to discover that, live there, right? And stay there and kick ass.
I think that's huge too. Like whatever you feel like you should be doing, do things until you find what you feel like it truly, feels like it's your thing to be doing, right? Um, it's weird because I heard this quote by like Jerry Seinfeld the other day on it's saying something like you know he was talking to somebody about how he always looks for a joke in a room, and it's a pain because but he's okay with living with that because it's something that he enjoys so much. So like even though it's like a hard thing to do, he's okay with doing it because it's something that he loves doing. So I think if that makes any sense,
Totally, totally. And he
um,
wasn't successful by accident. He didn't just come upon
right?
massive success and riches. I think I read somewhere he would write a joke a day
Yeah,
or something like that. And he was just so militant and disciplined and intentional about his craft. He would write a joke a day. And I think that's like a golden habit, right? I talk about LinkedIn. That's like my small golden habit, right? Doing something
that's
every day,
awesome. Yeah,
meditating every day. Like, dude, these things add up. There's a really good book. It's called the Power of Kaizen. Kaizen is basically, small micro improvements every day, right? I'm not trying to hit grand slams every day. I'm going for bunts and singles,
right.
and I think that's how you can do good things. But I think you mentioned Jerry Seinfeld. Success leaves clues, and a guy like him, right? People
Yeah.
like him.
Well, I actually think it was a TikTok clip that he was because I scroll TikTok sometimes. Like he uh, he was talking to Howard Stern, and it was a clip about how it's like so Howard's saying like, well, so you're looking for a joke right now, and while we're talking, and Jerry's like, oh, well, there is no joke here in this, I don't see any here, but he's always looking for it, he's always thinking at it, and it's one of those things like, how I don't know if you probably have the quote like the law is your jealous mistress, it's just always it's always
Right.
there, but if you really love it, it's not it shouldn't be perceived as something like that's so difficult and bad because you
100%.
actually enjoy doing it.
Can't
So I
agree with
think
you
when you
more on that.
find that, I think that you're home.
100%. But the key is to get there, right?
You got to get there. Yeah, you have to get there. That can take a while sometimes. It
Yeah,
could happen in your 20s. It could happen in your 50s. You never know.
you got that right. 100%.
Even though I'm
100%.
not 50, but I would think that for some people it might take a while. It you know. So tell me about how to develop a healthy law firm culture.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a big topic. I mean,
Sure.
that's really an obsession of mine. I think it starts with hiring, but not only hiring, but your job ads. So my job ads are really crystal clear on who I want, who I don't want. We talk about core values. Make sure you have your core values set up. There's a reason why those big, massive corporations have core values. Core values dictate everything. Core values is, to me, the articulation of your office culture. So I think it starts with hiring. It's culture is perpetuated by meetings, right? Rhythmic meetings. We have a daily huddle. I have quarterly conversations with team members. I give team members shout outs. I'm just always trying to support my team and demonstrate what healthy office culture is, because I'm never going to get it perfect. It's never going to be a perfect culture, but I'm going to work hard in the average bear at making sure it's pretty darn good for my team members and myself, because that creates happier lives for all of us, right? We don't come home stressed out about how shitty our jobs are. No, like
Yeah.
I want people on Sunday night not to dread coming into work. Like, all right, yeah, it's Monday night. Like, let's go kick some butt tomorrow, right? But culture is ongoing. It's just if you can figure that out, I think you have a massive competitive advantage in this very saturated field. But I think, Benny, culture is so massive and so hard.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. I think it is an important thing and ongoing. I think things evolve, sometimes. So I think if you try something once, like you might have to tweak it a little bit to get it the way that it should be.
Constantly,
So
constantly.
where do you see Early Law Group in like 5 years?
A good question. More lawyers, more staff. That means we could help more clients. I'm. It's my job to get better, right? So I'm always going to conferences, mastermind groups, always sharpening the axe. Because if I, what got me here won't get me there to the where I want to be in 5 years. So I have to level up, constantly get better, read more books, go to, continue going to conferences. Just I'm a real kind of, junkie on this stuff. I frankly love it. It's my passion.
Do you get a lot of value from it, but you also connect with people? Like, what's the best thing about a conference?
Oh boy. I mean, I don't love leaving my family and jumping on an airplane.
I get that.
That kind of sucks. I don't love hotels, but you come away so much better. You meet people. You and I were just talking about this before the call started. How you went and you met a bunch of people physically in person. That's invaluable.
Yep.
So yeah, we also said we can't go to like every single one, or else you'd be out 365, right, the whole entire year. Pick your spots. You find a conference you think is good for you, then it's I think very transformative. Get on an airplane, get out of your office. You have different thoughts, different mind space, and a lot of creativity can happen. Good connections, referrals, ideas, all good things happen from those things, I find.
Totally. I hope to find excuses to go to more of them, to meet more people. I don't have a firm, so it's sort of like, maybe I, go and present some lawyer stories stuff.
100%.
Or 100%. Social media or podcasting, something like that. So
definitely.
So we talked about entrepreneurship and like the best part of it and the autonomy. And so let's see, what anything we've left out about your firm?
One thing I just want to add is, again, this is a Lawyer Stories podcast, right? So when I started to lean in, when I put my story out there on social media a couple of years ago, is when I had a shift. I became vulnerable, but I got more, I was sort of exposed, and I feel like that has only helped my career tremendously. It took a lot of hesitation and frankly courage to put that out there about my real, true upbringing. Yep. But now I'm doubling down. I'm going to write a freaking book about it, because it's like, all right, I'm all in. Like, this is who I am. And it's not just about like making money and getting clients. It's about just like being authentic and trying to help. Because as I said, I would love to talk to young kids. I'd like to, try to teach some small thing that could help move the needle for one kid. But yeah, I encourage anyone, reach out to me. I love talking about the business of law. I'd love to chat with you. Reach out to me. Ben, you're doing a really good job with this. Continue to do it. You're kicking ass. And you're authentic. You enjoy talking about stories, and I think what you're doing is very important work.
Thank you.
So continue that for sure.
So thank you very much. There is one other thing I do want to ask you. I'm a new dad. I know, like, I have a 1-year-old. Thank you. Relatively new. And I know you're a very dedicated dad. So I want some father-to-father advice, if you have any for me. I have a baby girl and a 4-year-old son. A 1-year-old daughter, a 4-year-old son.
Good for you, boy and a girl, just like me. So I'm a big believer in being present. You'll never catch me at home on my cell phone checking work email. So I try to just leave the work at the office. So before you know it, your kids will be, 7 and 10, and I have an 11-year-old now and a 7-year-old. I mean, my son's going to college in 7 years. Benny, that's going to be like tomorrow, man. I know. So I just try to bleed this for all it is. Like, be just soak it in, man. It's just it's a beautiful thing.
I do, at first I was, because the nature of my sort of lawyer stories thing came from like the cell phone. So I definitely have been making conscious effort when I get home from work, put it away for a few hours. I have a job where I do have to see if there's like a fire or something. So I'll check it. But I won't be on it. People got to wait. And, but I think that is great advice. And it's also very good to hear here and then, like, don't be on your phone too much. Like, be present with them, because it's so true. I look at them and I try to imagine my son, like, he's going to be, and like when he starts to get a little older, and it's crazy, they're not going to need the things that they need right now from us. So. Yeah,
it goes quick, and we're just so blessed, right? It's a beautiful thing. We're really lucky dudes to have kids.
Yeah, for sure. So is there anything else that you wanted to talk
about? No, like I said, reach out. Anyone on the call, reach out. I'm an open book. I believe in abundance. I don't keep my keep things that work for me, close to the vest. I like to share stuff because this feels right to me. So happy to chat with anyone, anytime. Reach out. Don't hesitate. I'd love to talk with you.
Awesome. Thank you. And Chris, stay right there. Chris Earley, Boston, personal injury, catastrophic injury attorney. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.